Now!
I got an idea. Let's shoot each other. You go first.
Holy Jesus, man. You're crazy.
Welcome to this episode of Rewind a Closer Look. I've been wanting to watch Beyond the Law for a long time, and I finally found it sitting on a thrift store shelf. So naturally, it had to come home with me. Charlie Sheen, Michael Madsen, a biker movie, that's already checking a lot of boxes. My favorite biker film is still Stone Cold. If you haven't seen that Rewind yet, definitely check it out. But that's a pretty high bar. So can Beyond the Law knock it off the top spot, or is this just another forgotten 90s biker movie that faded into obscurity for a reason? Let's rewind and find out. The movie opens with the dreaded white text on black screen and, not exactly inspiring confidence. Thankfully, it doesn't last long before the screen turns red, and we're greeted with a quote about how easy it is to go to hell, but hard to leave.
Nothing ominous about that.
The quote fades away, and through the heat shimmering rising off the road, we see a lone motorcycle rider cruising towards us as the credits roll. Oddly enough, there's no music at all, which actually gives the whole thing a weird, eerie atmosphere. Then we get this awesome title card, only for the movie to go right back to the credits. What a fake out. Who puts the title card halfway through the opening credits instead of the end? Strange choice. Eventually, the rider gets close enough for us to see he's full-on Chip-style motorcycle cop. After even more credits, we realize he isn't riding down a highway at all. He's out on some giant salt flat. The bike comes to a stop, the camera focuses on his boots, and I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing is giving me a serious Rotor vibes.
Rotor. Its prime directive. To judge and to execute anything that stands in its way.
The Rotor walked through a busload of nuns to get to a jaywalker.
He walks over to the door built into a side of a rock face, opens it up, and heads down a staircase into some underground bunker. The movie starts cutting back and forth between the cop and someone sleeping. Down in the bunker, there's somebody handcuffed to a chair, but before we can see who it is, the sleeping guy wakes up and we stay with him. So was that a dream or a memory? No idea yet. The guy waking up turns out to be Charlie Sheen.
It's like winning.
He's making his first appearance on the channel, and I have a feeling it won't be his last. Charlie just kind of lies there for a minute, recovering from whatever that nightmare was, before saying good morning to his pet turtle Harold. The camera slowly pushes in, and the music suddenly gets all dramatic. Like, relax, movie. Is this turtle possessed or something? Is Harold secretly the main villain? Or is he the movie's ultimate MacGuffin? I'm guessing none of the above. We immediately cut to a bulldozer pushing dirt when the operator's radio suddenly explodes. He looks up on the hill just in time to see a muzzle flash. Another shot punches through the radiator and steam starts pouring everywhere. The workers don't waste any time. They're out of there. A police cruiser comes flying down the road, drifts through a couple of corners, catches a little jump, and slides into the construction site. Charlie jumps out and, holy crap, one of the deputies is ripped torn. He catches Charlie up on the situation. They know the shooter, He's a local native man who's understandably upset about the construction project that's tearing up his land. This guy would have gotten along great with Steven Seagal.
See, I love the spirit world and I loved your father, but it doesn't matter right now. What really matters is the cold, hard reality of this world, and that's what we got to deal with. I didn't want to resort to violence. I don't have a choice.
The deputy explains that this guy has only been shooting at the bulldozer so far, but they still had to call the state police. Charlie decides to handle things himself, which makes sense since he was an Indian once too. He drops his gun belt, puts his hands in the air, and starts walking towards the shooter. And dude, maybe throw on some speed stick before heading out there.
Speed stick clear. It's more than clear. It's clearly dry. By Madden.
Charlie sits down beside the guy and tries talking him down. He tells him that if he just hands over the rifle and pays for the damages, he'll tell the state police it was just a hunting accident and a stray bullet. Charlie reaches for the rifle, but the guy points it right back at him and tells him to sit. He then starts talking about some old story passed down through the generations. Something about only being half a person, finding the other half, which he calls his shadow or something, and how doing so can ultimately get you killed. Right as the state police arrive, he finishes with some more spiritual wisdom.
Something else my grandfather told me. The true Apache had to do when surrounded and outnumbered by crazy white men.
What's that?
Give the fuck up.
Then calmly hands Charlie the rifle. Well, that went a lot smoother than I expected. Charlie and Rip are grabbing a bite to eat at a diner when Rip asks Charlie what's bothering him. Charlie brushes it off, saying he just hasn't been sleeping much lately. Rip isn't buying it though. He asks if it's Chief Kelly who's got him all worked up. Guess the chief likes to ride Charlie pretty hard. Rip then pulls out a little gift for Charlie. It's an old police badge from when he was a kid. He says he figured maybe Charlie could play with it and it would cheer him up. Alright, kind of an odd gift, but points for trying. Just then Rip's beeper goes off. He apologizes, says he's gotta run, and as they shake hands, we learn they're partners. And before anyone gets the wrong idea, cop partners. Meanwhile, Charlie's idea of working seems to involve sleeping in his patrol car. No wonder the chief is always on his case. While catching a nap, the nightmare comes back. This time we get a little more of it. The cop inside the bunker has a small boy chained up, mentions the kid's mother, and starts beating him. Well, that clears things up a bit. This wasn't some weird dream after all. These are Charlie's childhood memories. Which raises another question. If your abusive uncle kidnapped you and spent years tormenting you while dressed as a police officer, why in the world would you grow up wanting to become one yourself? Charlie wakes up just in time to see a Jeep flying down the road. He flips on the light and gives chase. And alright, I'm calling it now. The driver's gonna be a gorgeous woman. Charlie's gonna pull her over, and this is gonna be our meet cute. The Jeep pulls over, Charlie walks up, and nailed it. The driver even pauses dramatically before turning around to reveal Linda Fiorentino.
Is this freaking you out?
Nah. Nah, girl.
You know what I like to do sometimes when it's really late?
No.
Charlie just kind of stands there staring until Linda finally has to ask if there's a reason she got pulled over. Once Charlie rolls his tongue back into his mouth, he actually starts the traffic stop. The two bicker back and forth for a bit before Charlie notices a bunch of camera gear in the back of her Jeep. Before she can explain what it's for, a loud rumble starts growing in the distance. Over the hill comes a massive pack of bikers roaring down the highway. Charlie forgets all about Linda and just lets her go with a warning and immediately jumps on his radio. We then cut over to the chief's office where Michael Madsen
Are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
and a couple of his biker buddies are already there waiting. Madsen casually hands the chief an envelope full of cash saying it's to cover the damages and a little extra for him. Wait, what damages?
Maybe brain damage.
As the bikers head out, Charlie walks in and comes face to face with Madsen for the first time. They don't say much, they just stand there sizing each other up. It actually works pretty well. Sometimes saying nothing is a lot more intimidating. Then I noticed something. Rip and the other deputy were sitting in the room while Madsen handed over the envelope. So, are they in on this too? The chief quickly changes the subject and starts chewing Charlie out for the way he handled the standoff with the native man earlier. Then he launches into a pretty racist rant, which doesn't sit too well with Charlie, especially since he reveals he was adopted into a native family himself. Charlie finally has enough, and he shoves the chief, and promptly gets himself fired.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Later, Charlie is back at home, looking like he's packing up to move, when there's a knock at the door. Standing outside is a special investigator named Conroy Price, who says he has a proposition for him.
What kind of proposition?
Once they're inside, Conroy notices Harold the Turtle and asks about him. Charlie doesn't even acknowledge the question. He just goes right to it. What do you want? Conroy explains that he's putting together a major undercover narcotics operation, and he wants Charlie to be the guy on the inside. Charlie asks the obvious question, why me? Conroy then proceeds to unload Charlie's entire life story on him. And yeah, those nightmares we've been seeing, those aren't dreams at all, they're memories. Charlie's understandably a little freaked out that this complete stranger knows every dark secret from his childhood, and holy crap, that's one hell of a story. Turns out Charlie's uncle kept them locked inside that underground bunker for 3 years. Eventually, Charlie got a hold of his uncle's gun and shot him. After that, he was adopted, his name was changed, and he got a second chance at life. Conroy then asked the exact same question I was wondering earlier. If your abusive uncle tortured you while wearing a police uniform, why on earth would you become a cop? Charlie doesn't appreciate the free therapy session and tells Conroy to get out. As he's leaving, Conroy tells him,
I don't want your goddamn job.
Maybe not. But I think you need it.
Charlie tells him to leave again, and smash cut. Charlie has apparently thought it over and changed his mind, and wow, not even one scene of him sitting alone with a bottle trying to decide. We just skip to straight to, yup, I'm in. Conroy hands him an envelope with 20 grand inside and tells him to start buying drugs. From now on, they'll only meet at this secret location, and absolutely nobody can know Charlie's undercover. And oh no, Conroy is so dead. He's giving off massive mentor who won't survive the movie energy. Before Charlie leaves, Conroy tells him to grow a mustache. He's an ex-cop, and if the bikers recognize him, they'll probably kill him on the spot.
No shit.
Conroy then gives Charlie a list of known drug dealers and hot spots around town. His job is simple. Go out, get noticed, earn people's trust. Do whatever it takes, short of committing a felony. Because the second Charlie commits a felony, the entire operation falls apart. Before Conroy leaves, he casually mentions that the last 2 undercover officers assigned to this job disappeared without a trace.
Well, that's reassuring.
Sometime later, Charlie has moved into his new apartment, and somehow that damn turtle made the move too. Harold survives everything. We then get a montage of Charlie trying to make contacts in the drug world, and it's not going too well. He's about as convincing as that mustache he's trying to grow. Eventually, Charlie drowns his frustrations at a bar when a guy sits down beside him and starts making conversation. Charlie then does what every good undercover narc should do. He tells the complete stranger
I'm an undercover narcotics officer.
Brilliant. He even admits he's a terrible narc, and the guy agrees. So do I. He says Charlie absolutely looks like a narc too. Then he points Charlie in the right direction. If he really wants to get into the drug trade, he needs to get involved with bikers. Charlie admits he doesn't know the first thing about biker culture. The guy offers to teach him. Turns out he's a motorcycle mechanic who knows all the right people. Charlie asks why he'd want to help a complete stranger. His answer is actually kind of wholesome. He's always wanted to be a cop. He asks Charlie if he can make him a deputy, and somehow Charlie actually does it. He gives him the old badge Rip Torn gave him earlier, and wow, that just wasn't a throwaway gag after all. The badge actually comes back into the story. We learn that the mechanic's name is Virgil, and Charlie tells his brand new deputy that there's just one rule. He's absolutely not allowed to have a gun.
No guns, Virgil. Any shooting he's done, I'll handle it. I'm the narc, you're the fucking deputy.
Virgil gets right to work on Charlie's biker makeover. He drags an old dusty motorcycle frame out of the corner of the garage and tells Charlie to start building. And cue yet another montage. This time it's Charlie learning everything he can about motorcycles. Virgil teaches him how to wrench on a bike, while over the course of the montage, Charlie's hair gets longer, his beard fills in, and he starts smoking, and even picks up a few tattoos. By the time it's over, Charlie has completed his transformation from narc to biker. The bike finally fires up, and Charlie and Virgil head out for a ride. Back at the garage, Virgil pulls out a new vest for Charlie. His new colors? The best part? Virgil completely made up the motorcycle club. His logic is simple. Nobody will know. Seems foolproof. Virgil then tells Charlie every biker needs a nickname. Charlie looks down at his paperwork Conroy gave him earlier, and at the top is an acronym for the Special Investigation Division. SID. Well, could have been worse. At least it's better than Iceman. Charlie throws on his vest, but Virgil immediately complains that it's way too clean. Charlie finally snaps.
Getting really fucking tired of hearing you say that.
Yeah? Well, being tired is a lot better than being dead, man.
A little while later, Charlie comes outside and catches Virgil just pissing on his jacket.
Ew!
Well, I guess it's dirty enough now. Virgil tells Charlie to meet him at Spanish Wells if he wants to prove he's crazy enough to hang with the bikers. Later on, Charlie is waiting at Spanish Wells when he hears a police call over his radio about a stolen car. Seconds later, the same stolen car pulls up beside him with Virgil behind the wheel. Charlie's absolutely livid. First, Virgil just dragged him into a felony. Then Charlie notices something even worse. Virgil has a gun. Remember the one rule Charlie gave him?
Flashback.
No guns, Virgil.
End of flashback.
Yeah, that lasted about 5 minutes. Charlie tells him that they need to dump the car immediately, and Virgil drives like a complete maniac, swerving all over the road, flying around corners. Guess this is where the phrase, drive it like you stole it, came from. Then just because he apparently isn't crazy enough already, Virgil pulls alongside Charlie, grabs his pistol, and starts unloading into the back seat of Charlie's car while laughing his head off. Charlie nearly wrecks, so naturally he pulls along Virgil and returns the favor. The two idiots end up having a rolling gunfight with each other before Charlie slides to a stop in Virgil's car. Charlie storms over, and instead of arresting him, Virgil just tells him,
You're crazy enough now, dude.
Congratulations, you passed the audition. Now get your stuff together. They're going to a wedding, because apparently that's the logical next step. We then get, yes, another montage. This one, Charlie getting ready for the biker wedding. We saw the weapons he's hiding on himself, and more shots of Harold the Turtle. Seriously, what is this turtle supposed to symbolize? Is it Charlie supposed to come out of his shell? Because if that's what they're going for, it's pretty lame.
Kind of like you.
Charlie throws on a pair of sunglasses like they borrowed them from the Mythbusters.
Oh, I saw that.
I totally saw that.
And he and Virgil head off for the wedding. When they arrive, Virgil gives Charlie one final piece of advice. Keep your mouth shut and accept every dare they give you, because if they don't, they'll kill you. Man, this sounds like one hell of a wedding. They park their bikes and Virgil introduces Charlie to a biker named Oatmeal, played by Dennis Burkley.
Ma! What? We have a lawyer named B.D. Higgins? Yeah, bulldozer! Come on, let's get out. Hey, you're a lawyer, Dose. Bullshit rolls!
Oatmeal spots Charlie's fake club patch and asks what they like to play with back in Cleveland. Instead of saying something normal like, I don't know, baseball. Charlie blurts out,
Guns, man. We like to play with guns.
dude, that's the most narc answer imaginable. Somehow Oatmeal doesn't suspect a thing. In fact, he takes Charlie over to a van, absolutely loaded with firearms, and tells him to grab a few so they can go shoot cans or something. That actually sounds like a pretty good afternoon. Charlie secretly slips a stick of dynamite into his jacket while nobody's looking, and can't say I wouldn't have done the same. Down by the river, Oatmeal takes the first shot. While everyone's distracted, Charlie notices Linda wandering around taking photographs. Wait a minute, hasn't it been like 6 months since he pulled her over? Judging by Charlie's beard, it's been a while. It's been a while. Turns out she's writing a book about biker culture, and Charlie immediately realizes she's definitely gonna recognize him. But before he can worry about that, Oatmeal tells him to quit daydreaming and take his shot. Charlie fires and misses. He starts arguing with Oatmeal over whether he actually missed or not, and Oatmeal then makes the mistake of insulting Charlie's fake motorcycle club. Charlie doesn't yell, he doesn't throw a punch, he calmly pulls out the stick of dynamite out of his jacket, lights it with his cigarette, and every single biker immediately runs for cover. Charlie just casually tosses it into the river. Not gonna lie, that was actually pretty cool. Oatmeal, however, is less impressed. He charges at Charlie, who immediately jams a pistol into Oatmeal's stomach. Before things can escalate, Michael Madsen walks over and asks the obvious question.
Okay, who set off the fucking dynamite?
Charlie calmly admits it was him. Why? Because Oatmeal disrespected his colors. Madsen asks what he's planning to do about it, and Charlie doesn't hesitate.
I think I'm gonna shoot him.
Well, that got serious fast. Oatmeal instantly goes from tough biker to complete panic mode. He starts apologizing and begging, even offers to kiss Charlie's colors. So much for the big scary outlaw biker image. Then to top it all off, Oatmeal pisses himself. Everyone bursts out laughing, and I guess laughter really is the best medicine. Wedding crisis averted. With that settled, the ceremony finally gets underway, and I have to say, Madsen's delivers some of the greatest biker wedding vows I've ever heard.
You Bubbles, swear on this Bible, you want to let this smelly old scuzzball high side lubricate your cylinder and flush out your oil tank?
I do.
And you high side want to let this ugly old bag handle your great big rod and little roller bearings in a decidedly up and down fashion?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, all right, give the broad some tongue.
The ceremony wraps up with everyone firing the guns into the air, because apparently that's just how biker weddings end, and the party officially begins. Charlie takes off his Mythbuster sunglasses, and Linda immediately locks eyes with him. Yep, she absolutely recognizes him. Later that night, Charlie and Madsen are walking together when Madsen tells him something interesting. Normally, Charlie would have been dead for pulling that stunt with Oatmeal, but because Oatmeal insulted his colors, Madsen is giving him a pass. He respects loyalty. Madsen then asks if they've ever met before, and Charlie slowly lowers his sunglasses and said,
You met me before, you wouldn't fucking forget it.
Not a bad comeback. Charlie tells Madsen he's looking to start moving contraband from Arizona back to Cleveland. And he's heard Madsen is the man to talk to. Madsen just stares at him, then says Charlie's either incredibly stupid or has the biggest balls he's ever seen. The two stand there silently staring at each other, just like they did back at the police station earlier. Apparently, that's just how these two communicate. After a few more seconds of intense eye contact, Madsen finally turns around and just walks away. Later that night, Linda is sitting alone by the campfire when Charlie wanders over and joins her. She starts talking about how dry it's been and how they haven't had rain in forever, before casually dropping, "So, are you still a cop?" And there it is. Another person knows Charlie's a narc. Although, to be fair, I trust Linda with that information a hell lot more than Virgil. Linda assures him she isn't going to say anything, but warns him to be careful because Madsen is a psycho. She gets up to leave and Charlie offers her a ride home.
I don't think so. I'm strictly a solo act these days. Besides, don't take it personally, but I don't think you have much of a future.
Ouch. The next day, Charlie and the Jackals are cruising around when Madsen leads them to a local redneck bar. He tells Charlie these guys absolutely hate bikers, then bets him $50 he won't ride his motorcycle straight through the front door. Charlie accepts. He says,
I hate rednecks almost as much as guys who piss themselves.
Poor Oatmeal, he's never living that down. Charlie fires up his bike, blasts straight through the front door, and crashes into the jukebox at the back of the bar. Naturally, every redneck in the place immediately starts beating the crap out of him. After letting Charlie take a few shots, Madsen and the rest of the Jackals storm inside, and we get ourselves a good old-fashioned bikers versus rednecks bar fight. Now this is more like the biker movie I was expecting. We fade from the fight to everyone back on their bikes, eventually arriving at a strip club called The Whole Thing. That's almost as good as the bar Tit for Tat and Stone Cold. Everybody heads inside. We get the movie's first boobs, and the guys settle in for some drinks. Charlie then notices Linda just casually playing pool by herself in the corner in a titty bar. Okay then.
That's a totally normal thing to do.
Madsen starts talking business. At this point, Charlie's apparently earned enough trust that the Jackals can pretty much get him whatever he wants. Madsen says they'll show him the merchandise tomorrow, but tonight they're partying. He notices Charlie staring at Linda, and he tells him not to waste his time. Plenty of guys have tried picking her up, but nobody's managed it yet. Challenge accepted, I guess. After Madsen gets into a little argument with his old lady, the Jackals take off and Charlie heads over to Linda. He sits down near her, then calls over to the two guys playing pool, then offers them a $50 bet on the game. Except Charlie isn't playing, Linda is, against both of them. The guys happily agree. Linda puts on her hat, grabs a cue, and walks over to the table. And earlier I was wondering why this classy woman was hanging around by herself in a titty bar. And yeah, now I get it. She starts absolutely running the table. One of the guys realizes he's about to lose, grabs the cue ball and throws it in the pocket, declaring that Linda loses. As they're collecting Charlie's money, Linda calmly tells them that they might want to put it back, or Charlie will beat them up. Both of them. Nice. She completely flipped his little stunt back on him. Charlie launches himself at one guy and immediately gets caught in a chokehold by the other. Linda lets him suffer for a few seconds before stepping in and cracking the guy with her pool cue. And apparently that was enough foreplay, because we fade to Charlie and Linda back at her place, and they're wasting absolutely no time. The movie is clearly trying to make the whole scene incredibly sensual and sexy, but all I can picture is Charlie Sheen doing the exact same thing in Hot Shots. They make their way from the chair to the floor. We get some more boobs and eventually fade over to the fireplace, and holy crap, who lit all these candles? There's like 50 of them. Later, Charlie and Linda are lying in bed when she asks them what time it is. 7:30. Linda tells him it's probably time for him to leave because she has to go pick up her daughter. Charlie basically says, nah, I'll wait here. And Linda understandably isn't thrilled with the idea of bringing her kid home to meet the undercover cop, pretend to be an outlaw biker that mom just met and slept with. Charlie, however, wants to meet her, go get her, and you know what? It's probably a good thing Charlie stayed behind anyway. Somebody's got to watch all those damn candles. And that actually reminds me of a story.
Story time!
When I was a teenager, there was an old barn on my parents' property. My buddies and I used to hang out in the loft, and let's just say we weren't exactly model citizens. There was no electricity up there, so for light we used one candle. Well, one night we were all sitting around drinking some homemade wine we managed to get our hands on, smoking a little weed, and we all just fell asleep, with the candle still burning. I woke up to the entire wall of the barn behind me on fire. I'm not even kidding. It had actually burned my neck before I woke up. We all bailed out of the loft, called the fire department, and yeah, the barn burned right to the ground. So yeah, anyway, Charlie lays there in the dark having another PTSD episode. A little while later, Linda comes home with her daughter and walks into the kitchen to find Charlie making something. He immediately slips into his over-the-top French chef routine, complete with the fake accent and everything. Buddy is laying it on thick. He gets the little girl to help him crush us some cookies, while Linda just stands there watching the whole thing. If this was a cartoon, there'd be little hearts floating around her head. Charlie finally finishes his mystery dessert, then kind of creepily takes the kid by the hand and leads her over to the table like he's hosting a 5-star restaurant. She takes a sip of his concoction and actually likes it.
This is good.
Well, I guess pretending to be Gordon Ramsay actually works. The next day, Charlie heads back to the Jackals, and they finally start showing him how their operation works, which means another montage. This one is basically Charlie buying drugs over and over and over again. Every once in a while, the montage takes a break so Charlie can stop by and give Linda a hug before heading right back out to buy more drugs. Conroy's little dead drop is starting to look ridiculous. There are piles of drugs, stacks of cash, and at one point there's even a rocket launcher in there. Conroy says he's pretty impressed. Later that night, Charlie's hanging around another biker party with Virgil, who's busy complaining about Oatmeal. The guy, not the breakfast food. Apparently Oatmeal has been calling him
a dildo and shit.
Virgil doesn't appreciate that nickname.
What exactly is a dildo anyway?
Now the odds of this joke ever coming back later are basically zero, so if I'm taking the time to tell you about it, it's because the movie actually brought it back. Eventually Madsen calls Charlie over for a chat. He tells Charlie they've been working together for about 3 months now, and he likes him. He spends a couple of minutes complimenting Charlie, or explaining there's just one problem. Charlie feels sorry for weak people. That's why he hangs around with Virgil. According to Madsen,
Feeling sorry for anybody is a complete fucking waste of time.
well, I guess that's one way to look at life. Madsen then drops a pretty big offer. He wants to sponsor Charlie for full membership in the Jackals. Charlie doesn't immediately accept. He says he'll think about it. And that's a big mistake. Madsen takes that as a personal insult. As far as he's concerned, joining the Jackals should have been an automatic yes. Charlie quickly covers by saying he already has his own motorcycle club, and he just can't abandon his own colors overnight. Madsen seems to buy it. Then the guys pressure Charlie doing a bump with him, and I don't know, he looked like he enjoyed that a little more than he probably should have.
It's like winning.
The next day, Charlie meets up with Conroy, who's got some bad news. Joining the Jackals is officially off the table. Apparently, to become a full member, Charlie would have to commit 2 felonies in front of the club. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem for an undercover cop. Charlie gets all pouty about it, while Conroy's over here celebrating. The operation is going so well that even the FBI director has personally called him to congratulate him. Charlie couldn't care less. Conroy notices Charlie's attitude and tries to get him to open up about what's bothering him. Charlie responds by completely losing it. He storms off before Conroy can finish. Conroy catches up and hands him yet another envelope full of cash to keep buying guns and drugs. Then he mentions that there's a massive biker rally coming up with almost 50 motorcycle clubs attending. The FBI wants Charlie to bring another undercover agent with him. Charlie shuts that idea down immediately. That guy will screw everything up and get himself killed. If the FBI wants to send someone, fine. Just don't send him with me. And honestly, he's got a pretty good point. Over at Linda's place, she's got some news of her own. Apparently, Charlie had another nightmare the night before. Except this one was bad enough that when she woke up, he was crying like a little kid.
What a loser.
Our big tough undercover biker cries in his sleep. Linda then tells him she's finished taking all her photographs she needs for her book and she's heading back to Los Angeles to write. She saw Charlie crying and immediately thought, yeah, I'm out of here. Charlie tries convincing her that when this whole undercover assignment is over, maybe they can get back together. He insists he's okay, and Linda just starts crying. She clearly doesn't believe him. Next we get, yeah, you guessed it, another biker montage. Seriously, this thing goes on forever. Eventually we reach the biker rally, and at the very back of the convoy is a line of police cars following from a distance. When the Jackals pull into a gas station, the police stop out on the highway. Conroy gets out, looks through a pair of binoculars. What is the point of that? A commotion suddenly breaks out, and Charlie and Madsen head over to investigate. Turns out one of the bikers has figured out that another guy is actually an undercover cop. How? Because the undercover officer showed up riding a motorcycle that had been impounded from one of the bikers a few months earlier.
What, are you retarded?
What an absolute terrible undercover cop. The crowd immediately starts yelling to kill him. Charlie jumps on the guy, and I'm just assuming he's trying to rough him up just enough to save his life without blowing his own cover. As he's beating the poor guy, Charlie starts having flashbacks to his abusive uncle all over again. The police finally move in. Charlie shoves the undercover cop back towards Conroy and lets Conroy know exactly what he thinks of him and spits right in his face. The Jackals absolutely love it. They erupt in cheers. Meanwhile, Conroy just stands there stunned before ordering his people to back off. Charlie walks back to the bikers looking like a hero. Madsen thanks Charlie for what he did and starts talking about how much he hates cops. He says he's never accidentally let a police officer into his club before because apparently he can smell cops. Well, your nose might need some recalibrating there. Madsen walks off, and Virgil comes over with another opportunity. He's lined up a huge drug deal. Charlie just needs some transportation. Now, this part gets kind of confusing. They're two random guys just hanging around. Who are they? No idea. Charlie loads a bunch of guns into the trunk along with 30 grand in cash. Apparently these guys aren't the dealers, but I don't know. They ask Charlie for a ride back to town. Charlie agrees, because he still has that annoying habit of feeling sorry for people. Once they're on the road, one of the passengers starts shooting up in the back seat. Charlie keeps watching him through the rearview mirror. He's clearly not loving this. Then the junkie just tries sticking Charlie with a needle. The other guy pulls out a shotgun, and it accidentally goes off. Everyone starts fighting, and to make things even better, the cops are now behind him. Charlie slams on the brakes, kicks the entire fucking door off the car, yanks the junkie out by the collar, and slams him against the vehicle. Then he goes after the other guy with the shotgun. Meanwhile, the police officer has drawn his weapon. Charlie looks over, has yet another PTSD episode, and pulls his own gun. He points it straight at the cop.
Let's shoot each other.
And the two stare at each other for a few seconds, and then Charlie wins the stare off, and the cop turns around and just runs away. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that to be the ending of the standoff. Charlie walks back to his car, where Virgil is absolutely losing his mind. He tells Charlie he's crazy. No cop would ever do what he just did. In fact, if Charlie ever was a cop, he isn't anymore. Virgil officially quits. He tosses Charlie the little toy deputy badge back at him and walks away. Charlie just looks at him and says,
I'll see you around. Dildo.
Damn. Charlie climbs back into his car and deliberately runs over the little plastic badge as he drives away, and ooh, symbolism. Honestly, Charlie's pretty much alone now. Linda's gone, Virgil's gone. The only people he has left are the jackals. Not exactly the healthiest support group. A police cruiser spots Charlie, spins around, lights him up, and pulls him over. Charlie doesn't even argue. Next thing we know, he's sitting in a jail cell, and sitting across from him on the floor is the native man from the beginning of the movie. At first, he doesn't recognize Charlie, but when Charlie reminds him about the story he told, the story of the boy and his shadow, the man remembers. Charlie asks him how the story ends. How does the boy finally find his shadow? The man explains that a moon witch eventually gives his boy his shadow back, but in order to leave, he has to meet death. Oh, great. So now Charlie officially has a death wish. I mean, I already kind of suspected he did, but now the movie's basically confirming it. Conroy eventually pulls some strings and gets Charlie released. The two meet back at their secret rendezvous point, where Conroy completely unloads on him. Charlie is jeopardizing the entire operation. Even worse, Conroy thinks Charlie's actually starting to enjoy being a biker. Charlie nearly snaps. He gets right up to the edge, but somehow manages to pull himself back. He tells Conroy he's tired of all this. He's done playing a biker. It's time to start making arrests. Conroy begs him to hang on just a little longer, just a few more months. He even mentions that he's been invited to Washington because of how successful the operation has become. That's when it finally clicks for Charlie. Conroy isn't worried about him anymore. He's worried about his own career. Charlie calls him,
"You're pathetic,"
and just walks away. Later on, Charlie and Madsen are sitting around having drinks and talking about life, fear, power, normal bar conversation. Right in the middle of it, Madsen casually points a gun at Charlie and keeps talking about fear and power. Then says,
I can't remember if I put any shells in this fucking thing or not.
Click. Guess he didn't. The two of them just laugh it off. Absolutely hilarious. A little while later, they stumble outside drunk. Madsen decides the best way to sober up is to do a bump of cocaine. Flawless logic. Charlie joins him.
It's like winning.
Not long after, a few of those rednecks from the bar Charlie drove through earlier show up looking for revenge. They call Charlie out and tell Madsen to stay out of it. Madsen's response? He just walks away. Awesome, friend. I thought bikers were supposed to stick together. Charlie starts getting the ever-living crap kicked out of him until one of the rednecks pulls a knife. Only then does Madsen finally decide to help. He walks over, cracks one guy across the head with a baseball bat. Then the other two suddenly discover they've been gut shot and then take off running. Charlie and Madsen just laugh the whole thing off and drunkenly stagger away together. Linda's back in her dark room developing photos. Yes, back before digital cameras made us all photographers. Anyway, Charlie walks in and wait, wasn't Linda supposed to be moving back to LA? Bah, whatever.
It doesn't matter!
She holds up a photo she just developed and points out something strange. Charlie's shadow didn't develop. Oh no, not this shadow story again. This is the last thing Charlie needs, as if he wasn't already convinced he was destined to meet death. Linda leaves the photo sitting in the chemicals a little longer, and slowly Charlie's shadow appears. And, oh man, is Linda supposed to be that moon witch from the story? The one who gives the boy back his shadow? The symbolism train is leaving the station. I'm not sure I bought a ticket. Charlie storms out of the dark room, leaving the door wide open. Good job, buddy. You probably just ruined every photograph she had hanging in there. Linda eventually finds him in the bathroom, cleaning himself up after getting beat up by the rednecks. The two move into the living room where Charlie finally admits he thinks he's going crazy. He starts rambling about the story of the boy in the shadow, explaining how everything happening to him seems to be following that exact same path. Linda's response is basically, well, that's weird. That's when she comes up with a solution. Let's wake my daughter up and go back to Los Angeles right now. Okay, I'm not entirely sure how that moving to California is supposed to solve Charlie's magical shadow problem, but points for trying. Charlie refuses, says Madsen saved his life earlier that night. He just can't disappear now. At the very least, he wants to warn Madsen before the arrests start. Linda stops him. She tells him, Madsen didn't save Charlie, he saved Sid. Then she asks the question Charlie has been avoiding this whole movie. Can he even tell the difference anymore? That's actually a pretty good question. She goes on to say that Charlie's past doesn't excuse what he's becoming. His uncle did horrible things to him. He's a victim.
I'm the victim!
But then she drops a line that honestly caught me off guard.
You can't tell the knife from the fucking wound anymore.
Damn, that's actually a really good line. I wasn't expecting that level of writing. Charlie starts to apologize, stops himself, and just walks out. Later, Charlie tracks down Madsen at the convenience store, only to discover it's a terrible time to chat, because the jackals are in the middle of robbing the place. Oatmeal pulls a gun on the cashier. Charlie immediately shoves Oatmeal to the ground and kicks the gun away. Madsen responds by putting his gun against Charlie's head, basically asking, "What the fuck are you doing?" Charlie now has two choices, leave forever or ride with the jackals. Then, without another word, Madsen shoots the store clerk. Charlie just freezes staring at her body. Another PTSD episode crashes over him, but this time it's different. He kneels beside the woman, wraps his arms around her, starts crying, and as the blood covers his hands, it mirrors the blood on his hands the day he shot his uncle as a child. Charlie throws his head back, lets a guttural scream, and the entire screen washes red. Yikes.
Yeah, that's a really good sign.
Later on, Conroy is in a conference room with representatives from every law enforcement agency imaginable. He's thrilled. Tonight's the night. The arrests are kicking off simultaneously across 3 states. Hundreds of criminals are about to go down. Then Conroy surprises everyone. He actually gives Charlie full credit for making the operation possible, acknowledging the enormous personal cost it took him to get there. A window opens at the back of the room, and Linda is standing there. Wait, what? Is she a cop too? No. A second later, Conroy introduces Charlie, and Charlie walks into the room. Okay, I guess that's why she's there. The undercover officer Charlie beat up at the biker rally stands, starts to slow clap, and before long the entire room is on its feet, giving Charlie a standing ovation. Later that night, Charlie's in the Conroy's office. He has one request. He wants to arrest Madsen himself. Conroy immediately says no, it's too dangerous. Wait, going undercover in a violent biker gang for months was perfectly acceptable, but this is where he draws the line? Conroy explains that if Charlie gets killed now, they lose their star witness. Charlie doesn't care. He says he has to finish this himself. Conroy owes him that much, and after a long pause, Conroy reluctantly agrees. The next day, Charlie sits on his motorcycle, watching as the police quietly surround Madsen's trailer. Once everyone's in position, Charlie rides up alone. He parks the bike, walks to the front door, and pounds on it. Madsen opens the door like it's any other morning, and the two head inside. Charlie quietly locks the door behind him as Madsen stands there at the stove making breakfast. Charlie tosses an envelope onto the counter. Inside are photographs of the store clerk Madsen murdered. Charlie tells him he was wrong about power. It's something else. He then quietly says the woman's name and her age, and Madsen looks through the photos before asking Charlie where he got them. Charlie reaches into his jacket, pulls out his police badge, and finally shows Madsen who he really is. He tells him you're under arrest. Madsen just stares at him for a while before calling him
a fucking cop
and diving for his gun. Charlie beats him to it, and just like that, it's over. Charlie holsters his pistol, unlocks the trailer door, and walks outside. He simply tells the officers it's over now as he walks away. He slowly starts stripping off pieces of his biker outfit, the leather vest, the gloves, one piece at a time. While all across the state, we watch the rest of the police raids unfold in another montage. A narrator then comes on to explain that the movie was based mostly on a true story. Names were changed, of course, but around 200 arrests were made during the real operation. Michael Madsen's character, he ended up receiving 3 consecutive life sentences, which I guess means Charlie didn't actually kill him with that gunshot. Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
The narrator finishes by telling us that Charlie and Linda eventually ended up together, and the real undercover officer Charlie was portraying even made a small appearance somewhere in the movie. Then, because it's a 90s movie, it ends exactly how you expect, with a shirtless Charlie Sheen walking off into the desert. And that's beyond the law. And it was okay. I think the coolest part is that it was based on a true story. That automatically makes everything a little more interesting. Although now I'm really curious how much of it actually happened. Was all that childhood trauma real? Did the real undercover cop really spend 3 years locked in a bunker? Or was that just added for the movie? Because if that's true, that's absolutely insane. The biggest surprise for me was that this really wasn't an action movie. It's much more of a drama. There's not a whole lot of action, and honestly, not nearly enough biker hijinks. When I hear Charlie Sheen and Michael Madsen starring in a biker movie, I'm expecting bar fights, wild motorcycle chases, and complete chaos. Instead, this is a much slower, character-driven story about a guy slowly losing himself undercover. The whole finding his shadow storyline never really worked for me either. I get what they're going for. It's supposed to symbolize Charlie trying to become whole again after everything he went through as a kid, but it just felt strange. Every time the movie came back to it, I found myself less interested than I was in the biker stuff. Charlie Sheen also never completely convinced me as an outlaw biker. He gives a good performance, but even after months undercover, I kept looking at him and thinking, that's Charlie Sheen wearing a beard. And speaking of that beard, it just looked off. Maybe it's because I'm so used to seeing him clean shaven, but it never quite sold the transformation for me. I also have a few unanswered questions. What happened to Charlie's pet turtle? What happened to Rip Torn? And what about that dirty sheriff? The movie just kind of forgets those characters exist. So yeah, not a bad movie by any means, just not the biker movie I was expecting. If you go into it looking for a crime drama that's inspired by a true story, I think you'll probably have a good time. But if you're expecting something like Stone Cold with non-stop biker insanity, you might come away a little disappointed. Still, I'd call it a decent watch. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey. I want you to grow a mustache and change your appearance. You're an ex-cop. If anybody recognizes you, they'll probably kill you on spec.
Would you miss me, Bryce?
You can forget the jokes. I have no sense of humor. I never have. I've tried several times to develop one. Even took a workshop, but it didn't work. But quite simply, nothing is funny to me.
That's funny.
Ta-da! These are your fucking colors, man.
My fucking what?
Your colors. A biker will fight you to the death if you rat fuck his colors. It's the name of your club. You are a member of the Pythons. I made it up myself, but who the fuck's gonna know, right? Come here. You see this little 1%? This means that you are a member of the totally zoned out, fucked up, badass outlaw motorcycle brotherhood.
Who the fuck is it?
Narcotics officer.
Narcotics officer. I love that joke.
Rewind, a closer look.